It's ours and the mortgage holder.
But we are working on...
Excuse me, Mr. Winton. Before we go there, I'm a little curious about something. Dr. Dunlap, I was under the understanding that I had asked for an agenda item to be placed on this agenda having to do with establishing a planning committee. And then when it wasn't there, I called and asked what had happened to that agenda item. Could you please tell the rest of us what happened to that agenda item?
It was brought forward at board agenda meeting, the conversation on that day was not to go ahead with an action item. And rather than put words in anybody's mouth, I brought it to the attention of both Mr. Stocks and Mr. Vyas, as you had requested, and decision was not to go forward at that time.
And then when I called and you told me this, I asked if there was board policy as to how our agendas are set. And we do not have board policy, do we? We
do not have board policy, but we follow what many districts do, CSBA's template in terms of how an agenda is built. The agenda is put together at board agenda. All of the divisions submit issues and concerns. And then I work with the board president, board vice president to finalize the agenda.
And does a board member not have the opportunity to ask for an agenda item to be placed on the agenda?
Board member has an opportunity to ask for an item to be placed on the agenda, but a final decision as to whether or not it is placed on that agenda is made at board agenda.
So even though we reached consensus at the last board meeting, I believe Mr. Benefield said he would be okay with such an item. Mr. Hawkes, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth either, but he also agreed that that would be a good thing, and I certainly wanted that. So the three of us voicing our opinion that that was an item we wanted on the agenda was outvoted or outweighed by the decision of Mr. Stocks and Mr. Vyas?
Correct.
Okay, so in essence, they told the people that elected Mr. Hawkes and myself that their voices did not count.
I don't think you are correct in that particular statement. Myself and Mr. Hawkes decided that it was premature at this time to put it on the agenda.
Why was that?
And it's still premature, and it's something we'll give consideration to, and it will be up to the majority members of the board when it will go onto the agenda.
But we already decided that at the last board meeting. Am I not right, Mr. Benefield? Did you not say that?
I'm not so sure that I said that. My concern is that, as I said at the last board meeting, that I believe that we should communicate with Camarillo. I think that there's some perceptions there. Perception many times is reality, that Camarillo, they don't get the fair share of the funds. They're not represented like they'd like to be represented. But my concern at this point, I believe in having meetings. I believe in letting people communicate. However, I think that we need some specific information so that we just don't meet to meet, that we can answer questions about the budget. And at this point in time, I don't think we can do that. And I'm concerned about that we could have some perceptions there or some expectations that we can't deliver on from the beginning. I'd like to start meeting when we have specific information that we can answer questions very, very, very sincerely and be accurate with those questions.
And I understand your concerns, but I think we do the people of Camarillo and Oxnard, for that matter, a great injustice if we presume that they cannot understand the difference between a planning committee and an actual committee to move forward, like it would take place with the Measure H Oversight Committee. Now that's something where you're,
I'd like to make this comment that I had the privilege of being the chairperson for the design committee at Pacifica High School. And that process involved those people that would be working in the classrooms, teachers every day that would work in those classrooms, that they could better serve the students that came into those classrooms each day. That was a very lengthy process. It lasted for 6 months to 1 year. And first of all, we had to have an architectural firm employed by the district meet monthly with all the people that represented each department and each department at each high school. That was a lengthy process, and Pacifica High School was built because of the input by a lot of teachers. It's a lengthy process. I understand the community involvement, but I'm not so sure that they designed the high school. So I don't know what it is you're trying to, at this point in time, what it is you're trying to...
I would like to, well, first of all, and I'm sorry, I've being neglectful here, I do want to thank with all my heart all the people in Camarillo that worked so hard to help us defeat Measure U. Had it been to the sport, that never would have happened. And so I am really, really grateful and appreciative, more than I can ever put into words. I know how much you've sacrificed. I know that you've had bottles thrown at you, that you've had any number of acts of vandalism. And I am very grateful. And I do recognize their voices. We did this once before. We had a design committee in Camarillo. We didn't have the funding to do anything with it, but the Camarillo community came forward and they gave us their suggestions and their recommendations. I don't see why we can't move forward with that. Money is not an obstacle. They're not asking for any money. They're not even saying, promise us a high school. What they are saying is we want to be involved in the planning of it. And I, for one, don't see anything wrong with letting the community have their voices heard now.
Ms. Hanson, I totally agree with you, but my point is I think we need some specific information so that when we meet with people, we can answer questions very accurately. That's my whole point.
And I understand that, but I hope you understand my point also, that I don't feel that we need all those specifics right now. We see now they're nodding their heads. They understand. They're not dumb. They know the difference.
Sure.
A planning committee is a planning committee. It's an opportunity for us to have better community relations with the Camarillo community.
I respect your position.
Okay, and I just want to reiterate that it is my hope and my desire that we move forward with this planning committee, and that I ask for your support in this, because as you can see, this board is not going to move forward unless I have community support, both from Camarillo and from Oxnard.
Is that your, okay.
Mr. President,
Yes.
there was, I think, there was some comment about the setting of the agenda, and are we meeting under CSBA rules or Robert's Rules of Order?
No, this is Robert's Rules of Order. Mr. Hawkins, what I alluded to on CSBA, a lot of their policies serve as our templates for putting district policies together. That's all I meant.
Okay, under Robert's Rules of Order, which I looked up, and by the way, I've been chair of the twice, so I kept this in my deal. Robert's Rules of Order states that the president doesn't set the agenda, quote unquote. He puts it together, but it should review the. It does say, and it specifically says a misconcept that the president sets the agenda. So look that up. It's under Google or whatever I saw it. That's just a point of clarity.
Mr. Vice, do you need to say anything, or?
Well, at the time that we discussed this issue about setting the agenda, we thought it was kind of a premature right now in view of the economy, in view of the situation we're in right now. We do have a lot of priorities on the plate for the whole district, and I hate to put staff resources in something that's 5-6 years away. I experienced part of the building of Pacifica, and if we had all the money and everything was right, engineering, it takes at least 5 to 7 years to build a school. So to try to have committees right now, look what happened to the other committee that we had. They met, and it died off because of circumstances that occurred. So we're trying to avoid that again. Having committees be meeting, and then circumstance changes, and it stops. So that was our position.